Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Satti and today happens to be 14th of October 2024. We are sitting in Islamabad and we are having this part of a special transmission series which will be dedicated to the SCO Summit which is being held in Islamabad from 14, 15 and 16, and in order to further develop this conversation and to explain the regional conduct of the SCO Summit, we will delve into all of these compositions of this organization. But I'm really glad that I've been joined by my co-anchor who happens to be Abdullah Dar. Assalamu alaikum Abdullah, and thank you so much for joining us.
Walaikum assalam, Hajra. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. So to get started and to further develop this conversation regarding the SCO Summit, SCO was an organization of the 5 member states. It was established in 2001 in the aftermath of the 9/11 attack. But the idea of the multipolar world order or the security, network security of infrastructures or networks is a very deep-rooted idea, and this is very integral to the concept of the SCO Summit. And one of the things the SCO Summit is the hinge around it, the concept is that it accounts for the member states, which is the 40% of the global population and 30% of the GDP it is producing in the world. So how can it contribute towards the world peace and prosperity? And Pakistan is hosting the summit. It's really proud moment for us, and we will further develop and develop this conversation. But we are really glad that we have been joined by Shahid Afraz Khan, who happens to be a journalist from the China Media Group from Beijing. Assalamu alaikum, Shahid, and thank you so much for joining us.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you so much for having me.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us, Shahid Saab. So let's further develop this conversation regarding the SCO Summit. Now, please tell us what will be the agenda of this security organization and how will it unfold? Because there was a very interesting concept that the Chinese premier stated, especially in the SCO Summit, which was held earlier on, and he categorically spoke about the non-interference in the internal affairs of the countries and especially the attempts to provoke the color revolution. So how will you describe this entire scenario? Please enlighten us.
First of all, I would like to highlight this importance of the Chinese Premier Li Qiang's visit to Pakistan. He is undertaking a bilateral visit to Pakistan, and PM Li Qiang is a great friend of Pakistan, and under the visionary leadership of both countries, Pakistan relations have been strengthened. So this is a bond that two countries share, and they call themselves iron brothers, and it's a time-tested friendship. Moreover, Premier Li is accompanied by ministers and senior officials, including from the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Commerce, the National Development and Reform Commission, and China International Development Cooperation Agency. For Pakistan, this visit enhances its standing as a strategic player in China's regional and global ambitions. And moreover, the Chinese premier visit to Pakistan ahead of SCO Summit is more than a diplomatic formality. It marks a pivotal moment in the evolving relationship between two long-standing allies, from the signing of significant economic agreements to discussions on regional security and geopolitical strategy. As you mentioned, this visit will set the stage for deeper cooperation between China and Pakistan. And during this engagement, Prime Minister Mohammed Shehbaz Sharif and Premier Li will unlike their respective delegations to comprehensively discuss all aspects of Pakistan-China relations, including economic and trade ties and cooperation under the CPEC. So, two sides will also discuss regional and global development. Chinese premier will call on President Asif Ali Zardari and hold meetings with parliamentary leaders and senior military leadership of Pakistan. So, they will also attend the meeting of the Council of the Heads of the Government of Shanghai Cooperation Organization being held in Islamabad. So, Premier Lee's visit to Islamabad is an expression of the importance attached by Pakistan and China to their all-weather strategic cooperative partnership, and it will be an occasion for both sides to reaffirm mutual support on issues of core interest, advance high-level quality development of CPEC, and reinforce regular exchanges on important regional and global developments. And the Chinese premier visit to Pakistan is being seen as a very important and positive in Chinese circles. I'm in Beijing, and I can see in Chinese mainstream media, Prime Minister Lee's visit to Pakistan and China-Pakistan, all where the relations have been highlighted. China's largest English news channel, CGTN, has I had a special interview of Pakistan's Federal Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Atar. So overall, Pakistan-China friendship is deeply rooted in the people, and hence, whenever there is a high-level visit, this is a great excitement among both Pakistan and Chinese people.
Right. Thank you so much, Shahid, for particularly focusing on that. And Shahid, one last thing before we wrap up this segment, and I want to talk about that how SCO is focusing on the triad of the three evils. And the three evils that they mention in their documents are terrorism, separatism, and of course, extremism, right? So whenever we talk about the security platforms on which the SCO leaders meet and they deliberate and expound over these ideas, how do you think this is going to unfold in this conversation which is happening in Islamabad, which is hosted by Islamabad? And obviously when it is being hosted by Islamabad, so Islamabad has a lot of input to give when we talk about these triad of the three evils.
Yes, overall, maintaining the regional peace and security is the cornerstone of cooperation within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So, in recent years, we have seen the SCO members states have enhanced their collaboration to combat the three evil forces of terrorism, separatism, and extremism, as well as to address drug trafficking and safeguard security in both cyberspace and outer space. Additionally, a significant driving force behind the development of SCO is the commitment of economic growth and strategic cooperation. So there must be development in terms of security because China and Pakistan and all other SCO members they have full belief that the peace and security are compulsory in order to develop this region. So we can expect lots of progress during this summit as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Shahid, for joining us and for expounding on this very interesting discussion that will be unfolding in Islamabad. And obviously, when we talk about the SCO platform, whenever we talk about the regional cooperation, there is an increasing interest in the academia, on the policy circles level, that the world is shifting away from the unipolar order to a multipolar order, right? And whenever we talk about the poles, so obviously it's very, very important, especially for the countries like Islam, for Pakistan, to have their representation in the different poles of the world in order to have a better understanding of the regional cooperation.
Exactly.
And when we talk about peace, yes.
Also, we have said that it's been 26 years that a high-level delegation like this or a high-level occasion like this have been happening in Pakistan after 27 years. And also today the Chinese Premier will also visit in Pakistan, which will be after 11 years that any Chinese Premier of the State of the Council will visit Pakistan. So it's a very big occasion, a very few important days ahead, and it's going to be a lot of regional impact and discussions of the regional impact and also the economy. We'll talk about the trade as well, and we'll cover every single thing in PTV World.
Right, of course, and please stay tuned to our transmission. So now we are joined by Dr. Jameel Khan, who happens to be the former ambassador. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab, and thank you so much for joining us.
Walaikum salam, great to be with you.
Right. So, Dr. Saab, when I was doing my research for the SCO Summit, and I came across this very interesting notion that was put forward by a research at the Tufts University, and it talks about that the Rudyard Kipling's notion of the great game, in which they talk about the renewed interest in the Central Asia. When we talk about the political interest, and especially Central Asia is very energy-rich region, right? And the South Asia is usually energy-deprived region. So how can we have a more broader cooperation when we talk about these economic exchanges, and especially under the summit of SCO? How do you think it will unfold?
Well, economic exchanges is embedded in the charter of the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So that's one of the really prime factors which is enunciated in the charter of the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. But other than that, there are a host of other aspects, which is there's a whole lot of a spectrum of the topics which are discussed. But this such platform, which is a multilateral platform, and whenever a country hosts such very high-profile multilateral summits, the country gains importance in terms of its image and gains importance in terms of its bilateral engagements on the sideline with those head of the governments or head of the state whenever it happens. Right now, it's Council of Head of the Government. So the engagement with them, and whenever there is an engagement, there are bilateral matter of bilateral interest. So any multilateral forum, it automatically provides you the platform for the bilateral engagement also, and that's why at most of the multilateral forum including the General Assembly of the United Nations, highest multilateral, the head of the government and head of the states, they get the chance. Coming back on the SCO, yes, you mentioned about the research, and yes, it's a great game because the world is now drifting from the global west to the global east, from unipolar to the multipolar side. And that's what the matter of concern. West is having that concern that the platform like SCO, which again has been formed under Chapter 8 of the United Nations Charter, and the other platforms like EU, like AU, like Gulf organizations, they all are formed, including OIC, they all are formed under the same chapter, as I mentioned, Chapter 8 of United Nations Charter. So it does have the strength. It does have the partnership with the United Nations also. And then collectively, they address their regional issues like SCO. They are authorized and they are formed, and their charter suggests that they would be addressing their regional interest, and they will be also trying to resolve if there is any disagreement at the regional level, try to resolve that as well. Now, for Pakistan,
So, Dr. Jamil, there was a very interesting document which was obviously signed by the members of the SCO Summit meeting, which was held earlier this year in Kazakhstan's capital, in which the document reads that the tectonic shifts are occurring in the global politics, economics and international relations, and a more fairer and multipolar world order is emerging, right? So, this idea of the fairness which should be embedded in the multipolar order, can you share your thoughts on that, right? Can you explain what are some of the missing gaps which is being witnessed in a more liberal world order? And now people are, and the global policy think tanks are thinking towards going towards a more multipolar world order, right? So, and how can Pakistan come into this entire equation?
well, the liberalism, the propellant of liberalism, propellant of the liberal order of the entire world, the democratic order of the entire world. That flag is being carried, at least supposedly, by the West. And now, once they say that, once they see the drift from unipolar to multipolar world, this transition by itself draws some friction. And that friction is a little resistance. And that is where we see the containment policy. And that is where we see once the concerns are being raised for the SCO, that SCO is becoming an authoritarian platform. SCO is going to gain the economic strength of the kind which can undermine the interest of the West. So yes, this transition would definitely have some kind of a friction between certain world power. Also at the larger spectrum, which is a geopolitical landscape, it gains even further strength and further significance and importance in terms of the competition between the West and the East. But we must, as you said, that the world 30% of the GDP, now more than that, because 30% was once Iran and Belarus had not joined, and the other countries they have given the application. So gradually, the largest chunk of the GDP of the world is in this side for nuclear power here, and the world, half the population of the world now, once the other members join, that's going to be the SCO, the entire the energy and the mineral and so many resources in this part of the world. But it can be impacted and it can be affected by the geopolitical landscape. And my indication is towards what is happening in the Middle East, towards the threat that Israel is possibly going to attack in the coming days, if not weeks, attack on Iran. So this way, Iran is one of the members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the security, regional security, is also one factor which is given in
Right. Dr. Jamil, I have to
the
ask.
charter of the
Right.
SCO.
Right, Dr. Jamil, I have to ask that you have mentioned about the countries which are in the SCO. So there are two superpowers as well, which is China and Russia.
Russia.
So what's the role of Pakistan in advancing the regional cooperation and security, through this SCO?
Yeah, two things. Pakistan has always been um, uh, participating at the multilateral level. Pakistan has always been trying to balance its relation with the West and the East. But Pakistan also has to take care of its own interest. And all the countries, they do their diplomatic work on the basis of mutual interest and mutual respect. So Pakistan is also heading and towing the same line of the basic principle of the diplomacy. So Pakistan, with this particular platform, yes, Pakistan would gain the benefits in terms of the trade, in terms of commerce, in terms of digitalization, in terms of cultural exchange, in terms of research, in terms of security collaboration and cooperation. As you said, the separatism, the terrorism, the aspects of that is also one of the ingredients of the Charter of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So it's a political, it's economic, it's security aspect which is covered. So therefore, Pakistan, with this consistency and continuity of the SEO platform, and with consistency and continuity of the Pakistan policy, Pakistan gradually is gaining ground from these platforms, and Pakistan, of course, have to really strike a very fine balance in terms of engaging with all these multilateral forum, may it be the European Union, may it be the SCO, we are part of it, so we have to have our active role and active participation in it. And therefore, Pakistan becomes, because of this, its geopolitical and geographical location, Pakistan becomes a very significant country
Okay,
in this
Dr. Jamil, I would like to ask you one last question before we wrap up this part of our program, which is I read a very interesting discussion on the Ankara Center for Crisis and Policy Studies, in which they describe the SCO as the Monroe Doctrine of the Asia. Now, this is a very interesting encapsulation of this entire scenario, because if you see the Monroe Doctrine of that was formulated by the America in the later 19th century, in which they talked about the regional supremacy, and they gave a very clear message that no one is going to interfere in our internal matters, right? And that was also a declaration which talked about that you need to stay away from our matters. So SEO is also a sort of a declaration that you need to stay away from the Asian affairs, right? Do you agree with this assertion? Because there is clearly a sense of, I would say, authoritarianism in that. How would you unfold that?
And that is what is the reservation of the West is, the authoritarianism, because the West feel that this SGO, because of the charter, what they have, and agenda and various summits, discussing about the regional security. And once they discuss regional security, they also discuss about the cyber security. And once they discuss about the cyber security, the two major members, the pioneer members of the SEO, they're also having a research and development and the space, which means space with weaponization. And once it comes to the economy, the BRI, and then the CPAC, gives them the apprehension that the world economy could be dominated by this SEO. So it's just all matter of domination, because once the world is transiting from unipolar to multipolar, the players in the unipolar world would not.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Saab, for giving your insights into this conference that will be taking place in Islamabad on 14th, 15th and 16th of October. And to further expound over the idea of the SCO Summit, what will be the declaration like, and how, in order to more talk about it and further delve into even the concepts of the RATS that is linked to the SCO Summit, which is the regional anti-terrorist structures. How can Pakistan play part into it, because Pakistan has very successfully conducted the war on terror. How can we further develop this cooperation and share this knowledge with other countries of the SCO? I'm very glad that we have been joined by the special correspondent of PTV World, happens to be Raza Khan. Assalamu alaikum, Raza, and thank you so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much.
So Raza, like I mentioned before, so the RATS, regional anti-terrorist structures, right? Pakistan is a member of it, and there has been a regional cooperation going on. We've seen the exercises that are taking place within the Pakistan, and Pakistan is also transferring that. How do you think we can further strengthen the RATS within this SCO Summit?
I think there's a great scope for Pakistan to learn from the experiences of other SCO member states as far as countering terrorism and countering extremism is concerned. And the three things like separatism, terrorism and extremism, which are one of the main goals of SCO. If we see how China tackled the East Turkestan movement, terrorism in especially in the Uyghur areas, Xinjiang especially. So we have a lot to learn how China managed to put a lid on terrorism, which was emanating from Xinjiang.
Right.
And then, of course, Russia has also tackled terrorism. It has tackled terrorism, especially emanating from Chechnya in a lot of ways, and Dagestan and all those regions. So there's a lot for Pakistan to learn from that as well. Tajikistan fought a very bloody civil war in the 90s, and so we can learn from the Tajik experience as well. And Uzbekistan is there, and Kazakhstan. So these are all countries, and of course Iran itself is a member of SCO. So these member countries, they have a lot to offer to Pakistan. And as you rightly mentioned, that Pakistan has been part of the exercises, joint exercises with the SCO member countries, and these were under the RATS, overall RATS umbrella. And the purpose was very simple, so that each SCO member state is able to nip the evil in the bud and counter extremism within its borders and terrorism. So it is right, you're absolutely right. There's a lot to learn for Pakistan from SCO.
Right. So Raza, we've seen that whenever there's a security summit of the SCO is taking place, so cross-border crime is always also at the center of the agenda, right? So the crimes like smuggling, drug trafficking, we can develop a very comprehensive sort of a platform, to combat that, because these are the multinational or transnational sort of a crimes, like for example, human smuggling, drug trafficking. So how can this discussion hinge around this, SCO Summit that we are going to hold?
These are 10 member countries, and they represent about 40% of population of the whole globe, and 80% of the Eurasian landmass. In fact, if you look at the map, I think right all the way from the Pacific Ocean to the Baltic Sea, it's a huge area that encompasses the member states of SCO. So Pakistan is hosting this, and of course this particular summit, the Council of Heads of Government. So mainly it is you can call it after Council of Heads of States. This is the second most important body of SCO, which is being held, the summit which is being held here in Pakistan. And of course, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, deserves kudos despite the different challenges which Pakistan was facing. But his government has managed to go through with this summit, and on a rotational basis it is held in the member countries of SCO. So in this time it is being held in Islamabad, and we see Islamabad is all ready to welcome all these dignitaries, and of course hundreds of delegates from these countries are coming in. So I think there's a lot to learn from Pakistan. You talked about trade, regional connectivity, tourism, cultural links.
Economic integration.
I think yes, economic. There's a lot of there's a lot that is on the plate.
Exactly, as you mentioned about economy and trade. So tell us about the regional impact which will happen because of this SCO Summit, and how important it is for Pakistan to host this event successfully, and how important it is after 11 years, Pakistan is after 27 years, Pakistan is holding such a big event for globally.
Abdullah, the thing is the very fact that these huge powerhouses of the world, China and Russia especially,
Exactly.
and Kazakhstan and others. They're all turning up in Pakistan, and their prime ministers and premiers. In the case of China, Li Qiang is also coming in today, and his visit is actually overlapping with this because it's going to end on 17th. So
Exactly.
it's a 4-day visit.
It's a 4-day
He's
bilateral
coming
visit, yeah.
today, as is the most of the delegates are coming today, and 15 and 16 will be the main SCO summit. What we are foreseeing is emphasis on BRI, emphasis on CPEC, as far as Li Qiang and his meetings with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is concerned, and of course pacing up CPEC and finishing the projects early and developing counterterrorism cooperation between the two countries. Pakistan has suddenly again is encountering another wave of terrorism, and of course China has a lot to teach us.
So exactly that means you're saying that Chinese premier is coming here not just for the SCO, but he have a different set of agendas as well.
Bilateral
as
visit.
Yes, there is a bilateral
Yeah.
And
dimension to it as
multilateral,
well. That's
Yeah.
Abdullah. That's very true. That's why the visit is not concluding. His visit, Li Qiang's, the Premier Li Qiang's visit, is not concluding on 16th. It is concluding on 17th.
Yes.
Because this is a very important step, as we say that our friendship is higher than the mountains and deeper than the oceans. So that is going to be manifested in the different meetings, MOUs that are going to be signed, and the emphasis is definitely going to be on trade, commerce, connectivity, and of course counterterrorism.
Right.
Right.
Thank you so much, Raza, for giving your invaluable insights into this conversation, and to further propel this conversation, which is hindered around the concept of the CPEC. And like Raza mentioned, that our friendship is a all-weather strategic friendship. So to further talk and deliberate over this idea, we're very glad that we have been joined by Amir Hussain, who happens to be a senior journalist. Assalamu alaikum, Amir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Right. So, Amir, like our worthy and esteemed guest mentioned, and he also happens to be the special correspondent, that when we talk about the SCO Summit, the Belt and Road Initiative is an integral part of it, right? Because China is a part of it, Russia wants to be the part of it, and obviously it is incomplete without Pakistan. And Tajik, it's because Central Asian states also want their regional connectivity through that corridor, economic corridor, and it's much more than that. What sort of do you think friction can be encountered there, and how can Islamabad manage that and have a more greater understanding on the Belt and Road initiatives? Because obviously, if you are a grouping of a larger member of the countries, you might encounter something.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the most important regional arrangement in the global south. You know, the world is changing. The power and economic hubs are changing from the Western uh, blocks to non-Western countries, China, Russia, Pakistan, India, and others, who are part of this particular SCO, arrangement. They are important players in the new global leadership on economic front, on the political front, and geopolitical changes that are taking place. And of course, this CPEC and BRI in particular is an important initiative. We have $600 billion investment coming in through BRI, and I think the more important part of BRI is not only about economic opportunities that it is creating, but also a regional connectivity that will help improve the trade relations, that will also help reduce the border border tensions, reduce the conflicts, and this is an indirect way of confidence building measures for different states who are particularly have not been in good relations in the recent past. I think there are many prospects and potentials, but it has also some sort of threats as well. Particularly, the most of the Western blocs would see it an arrangement that may threaten their economic, superiority in the global south. So I think this kind of things will be coming up in the future, but that has to be tackled diplomatically. And I think this particular platform is an important addition to our global south overall leadership, which is emerging in the world now. I think we have one of the biggest economies emerging in the global south, and they have the potential to provide a regional connectivity option, but also to provide the economic leadership for the world over. I think in this particular game, Pakistan is an important partner because of its geostrategic location, because of its commitment to the commitment to bringing peace in the region. For example, Pakistan has a critical role uh, in stability, providing stability for Afghanistan, a greater role to become a pathway from Central Asia to South Asia and the Middle East. So I think this particular location is important, and Pakistan can take advantage out of it. But also, Pakistan can provide a great link between Central Asia and the Middle East and Southeast Asia through its
Absolutely,
proactive
because
role.
Turkey has
Yeah.
also shown its interest in joining this organization. But Amit, there was another very interesting point that I found in the SCO summit, and which also are talking about the information security, because it poses a significant threat and that necessitates a collaborative approach, right? So when we talk about the SCO, it's not just talking about the Asian affairs, it is also talking about the global threats, right, or the global issues that require global cooperation. How do you see this entire scenario unfolding? Do you think it's a good approach to have a more global or multilateral understanding of different issues and the problems?
Yeah, of course. There are many economic issues, political issues. They go across the national borders. So we are actually living in a global world, which our challenges are common, our opportunities are common, and we think that in a global world, you cannot, you cannot prosper without having a network of, nations across you, in your neighborhood, in your region, but also with a global approach to understand. For example, you can have a better chance to do better negotiations with the global trade partners through a partnership approach. You can have a better chance to interact with the centers of culture, centers of economy in the world through a partnership approach. So it will reduce your risk. It will diffuse the risks that are there for a single state. I think this is an important approach, and in particular, you talk about information technology and the use of different cyber activities to infuse into the national securities. I think these are the areas where this sort of cooperation is also very important to develop a common understanding and a common solutions for this common challenge as well.
Right, and also when we talk about it, the SCO summit, which happened in Kazakhstan capital earlier this year, they talked about that the 2024 is the year of environment, right? And they had this in their final declaration because there are lots of global problems that require a global solution, right? And especially the hydrometeorological problems, for example, managing floods, the earthquakes, and this is the problem when we talk about the climate change that requires a global solution, right? So how can Islamabad, how does Islamabad fit into this entire equation? Because climate change is a threat that Pakistan is definitely suffering, and it's a hazard that, and we've seen in the past how it has unfolded, right? So how do you see this entire scenario developing? And obviously, it's always a good approach having the global issues at the hand, because that allows us a peek into from a very different perspective.
Well, I think this is one of the most important and the burning issues. Pakistan has suffered a lot. We are one of the countries in the world who have suffered the most because of the climate-induced changes in the world. We have seen flood in last 2 years, in particular 2022. The rain-fed, floods in the country created a lot of devastations, and we lost some $30 billion worth of our resources, and also uh, the in the global south, we are not the one who are the most pollutant countries in the world. We are receiving the impact of global climate change and the environmental degradation that is taking place somewhere else. So we also need climate justice, and for climate justice, as the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in the last COP, he also elaborated the concept of climate justice, which is an important concept where we can say that we need adaptation, we need funding, and we need financial resources to address those climate changes that we are experiencing because of the global warming. And I think these sort of platforms are important, set of arrangements for a larger debate at the global level. For example, last time we see the global adaptation report was released, where the lot of commitments were not met by the global north in particular, who promised to provide money for for addressing the climate-induced disasters in the global south in countries like Pakistan, but that was not materialized truly. This platform becomes an important and significant, level of arrangement and engagement for global south to create a debate to push global north to provide more resources for the climate, to address the global economic, the environmental degradation that is taking place. And I think this debate will be an important instrument to further the debate of climate change action in the
Right,
world.
thank you so much, Amir, for giving us the details and all the perspectives for the SCO Summit, which is going to be held in from 15 to 16, and also the visit of the Premier of the State of the Council of China, Premier Li Qiang, and that's all the we have the information. And what about you, Hajar? Lastly, I
Right,
want to
and
ask you.
sure.
Lastly, I want to ask you that have you been to the Islamabad and how they changed the environment and they decorated this
Yes,
whole Islamabad?
I definitely love the landscaping that Islamabad has
Exactly.
been going through, the streetscaping that Islamabad is going through because of the SCO Summit. But on the concluding remarks, the SCO Summit is a greater platform, and it shows that Pakistan has its presence in the multi-polar blocks that are emerging, and it is very essential, especially in the changing climates, in the changing environments, and the tectonic shifts that are taking place in the international relations, in the global affairs, and how there is a demand for a more fairer multilateral world order where the justice is served to the nation states. And stay tuned to the PTV World, because the entire day we're going to hold these special transmissions in the wake of the SCO Summit. The meeting will start, and obviously we will come back tomorrow again with the newer sets of analysis and more insights. So to stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much.